musical form, let's talk just briefly about structure and design in music. Form is how music is organized. It's the organizing principle of it. It's the work structure or shape. The most common determining factors in form are repetition and contrast. If you think about a pop song, you've got your verses, your chorus, and your bridge, all right? So that repetition is going to really shape the piece, the repetition of the tune in the verses, and then the contrast and subsequent repetition of the chorus, and then that contrast of a bridge. All right, so that repetition and contrast really helps to create unity and variety in a piece of music. Variation means there's going to be some aspect of it altered. Vocal forms are going to be either strophic or through composed. Strophic is the more common one you'll be familiar with. That means each melody is going to be the same with each stanza of text, though the text can change, just like we were talking about in a pop song. The verses may be different, but the melody within them is the same. Through composed is there's no main section that's repeated. We'll come across that in other chapters, but that's not as common. Improvisation means you're going to be creating this spontaneously during a performance. It's not pre-established. And so you have a lot of freedom to just kind of do as the spirit moves you. Improv, just like you think about comedy improv, the same idea. Although I think comedy improv is most likely going to be pretty well polished beforehand. There's structural principles to improvisation. It's not just a free-for-all, though. Musical form, we've got binary and ternary. Okay, binary simply means two-part, ternary, three-part. Binary, you're going to have a statement, and then you're going to have the departure from the statement. All right. Ternary, you're going to see that repetition come in. Statement, the contrasting departure, and then returning to the original statement, ABA. So that's that, again, repetition and contrast. The building blocks of form are going to be a theme, which is that main melodic idea that you use to build a larger work. And even smaller than that is a motive, which is a piece of the theme. All right, so a motive is just even a smaller piece of melody, the smallest piece of melody within that theme or that tune. Thematic development is when you take a theme and you expand it and you develop it. This happens all the time in things like epic movies like Harry Potter and Star Wars. They take these musical themes and they develop them and change them as the story develops. So that thematic development really helps to tell a bigger story. It helps when there are bigger pieces of works. We're not talking about 3-minute, 2-minute songs. We're talking about 20-minute compositions, hour-long compositions, things that are quite long, lengthy pieces of music. Those larger forms help to provide clarity, coherence, logic. You're going to hear variations of melody, rhythm, harmony, or all of it. All right, so here we've got a little example of binary and ternary form. Looking at Greensleeves, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It is a English folk song. Da 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 da. And then B, a little departure here. Da 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 da. See the contrast there. Or with simple gifts, shake your hand. There's ternary. Da 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 da. There's your A. Your B section. Then it repeats. Etc. You get the idea. My Country 'Tis of Thee, you probably have heard this, but this gives you a little example of some motive and sequences. My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of da 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 and da da da. Those two things are motives that are done in sequence. You can see the motives that are bracketed are just the same tune there repeated at different pitch levels. Da, 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 da. So there's some words for you, motive and sequence. All right, so you can have repetition exact, you can have repetition varied. There's other styles called call and response, where kind of the singer calls out, I don't know, but I've been told, I don't know, but you can see that in Army, maybe in movies you've seen that. An ostinato, which is a short repeated musical pattern, which is another way to unify music. That happens a lot with rock and blues and jazz. If you think of a little riff, for instance, that a guitarist might play and build on that, that could be an ostinato, maybe a bass line. And another word you need to be familiar with is movement. Movement is a term for a complete independent division or section of a larger scale work. So some of the pieces we're going to be listening to have several movements to them. They can stand alone, they have a beginning and an end, but they're put together with a larger scale work, much like chapters to a book or, something along those lines. All right.